Good evening, whiskey lovers. I apologize for my prolonged absence from the channel, but I'm back and thank you for watching again. Tonight we have a very interesting pair of whiskies from the Orcadian distillery, that is the distillery on the island of Orkney, not the distillery or the whiskey called Orcadian. That was confusing, I'm sorry. From a distillery on the island of Orkney called Highland Park. Of the two distilleries on the island, Highland Park is definitely the most well known. And the two bottles that we have with us tonight are Highland Park Dragon Legend and Highland Park Viking Honor. I've been getting to know this one for a while. Putting it down gently on the glass top. I apologize for the clanging. So we're going to first get stuck into the Dragon Legend. Now, I really like this bottling. Now, some people are unsure about this trend in island whiskies to connect whiskey with Viking culture, but not everybody knows that the Scots have a lot of connections to Viking culture. The Nordic peoples settled in Scotland. They raided for a long time and then settled all over Scotland. Some of the Scottish clans are of Viking descent as well, and they're fully integrated into Scottish culture. In the islands, particularly in Orkneys and Shetlands, the Vikings stayed a lot longer in control of the island, and a lot of the current population there has a stronger connection to the Nordic region than to the mainland Scots, and they think of themselves very much as descendants of the Vikings. That said, the connection between whiskey and Vikings isn't strong, because whiskey and in distilled spirits in general were unknown in Northern Europe at the time the Vikings were active. It's something that came from the Middle East via Spain, via monks traveling through Europe, and it's probably only going to arrive in Northern Europe about 150 to 200 years after the Vikings had stopped doing their Viking. That said, I really like this branding, and as a person of who claims some Viking descent himself, I think it's cool how they're tying in a lot of the Norse mythology with their brand stories. This one in particular, the Dragon Legend, on the presentation box, it had a story on the back about the battle between the great dragon Fafnir and the semi-mythical Norse warrior Sigurd, which is a really famous story from the Icelandic sagas. And I like the fact that they're continuing these stories, because they're not really well known anymore, and I think they're really entertaining reading. So let's get stuck into this one. I'm going to give you a bit of a spoiler. I really like this one. So I've poured myself a glass, and as you can see, it's a nice rich coppery color. It's aged in sherry casks, so I imagine that this is a natural color, but there's no way of knowing for sure, because distilleries are not compelled to tell you if they are adding coloring to their whiskies. That said, it's a no age statement whiskey, so we don't know how long the whiskey has stayed in these casks. It's quite a powerful whiskey, this. So I imagine there's quite a lot of young spirit in here, but that is not a bad thing, because it's got such complex flavors. So first of all, let's have a nose of this one. Oh, that really is splendid. So straight away I'm getting strong plum notes, very fruity, very full-bodied. That's really beautiful. So there's some strong vanilla in the back there, and maybe some sort of Christmas spices. So a hint of cinnamon and nutmeg, that kind of thing. Very, very powerful nose this. This whiskey is only 43%, so not very strong. So I'm going to taste it first without water and then go back to adding some water afterwards and see if it opens up. It does look a little bit oily. You can just about make it out there. So let's have a go. That is fantastic. It's quite earthy. It's got a really thick body to it, and it really fills your whole mouth up with flavor. It's got a good burn to it. You feel it in your throat as well. It's not smooth, and it's quite peppery. So it's a robust whiskey, but the flavor is magnificent. There's a strong fruity flavor. Like a big sweet orange. In the literature, they said notes of cut grass. Now I'm not finding this, but there is a cereally kind of finish, a little bit like oats or something like that. It's got a cereal. It finishes quickly, unfortunately, which is probably partly due to its relatively low alcohol content, which also makes me think that water is not going to do much for this. But it is beautiful. It's really good, and it's not expensive. I think it's under £50 a bottle. So for a special edition whiskey that really has a strong flavor and will knock your socks off, this is really not a bad bet. So this is the Highland Park Viking Honor. Now, excuse me while I enjoy the rest of this. I can really taste the sherry, actually. It's very thick and creamy. This is a really beautifully beautiful mouthfeel, beautifully full-bodied whiskey. It's not something that people always think about when they think of whiskies, but a lot of these younger whiskies tend to have a really powerful mouthfeel, which is something that you don't tend to find as much in some of the aged whiskies. Maybe these are slightly less commercial and they're more for people who are enthusiasts, and they're braver to make a strong whiskey like this. I finished it and I forgot to water it down. Or add water, because it's not really watering it down. That said, my instinct is it wasn't going to improve. So I'm just going to rinse this glass. And have a good swig of water to cleanse the palate. Let's get stuck into Viking Honor 12-year-old. So this is a 12-year age statement whiskey, and if we use that as a point of comparison to the non-age statement, the rules with Scotch are that the age on the bottle must be the youngest whiskey used. So no whiskies younger than 12 years old went into this Viking Honor bottle. Whereas some 5 or 8-year-old whiskey is probably in this. This is more expensive than that, usually. It's not a big difference though. Let's begin. Okay, so it's a lot less powerful on the nose. It doesn't have nearly as much going on. That's it. It's very fresh nose. This is crisp. It's got that characteristic Speyside, grassy citrusiness, hint of lemons, some smoke. There's an astringent bitterness to this whiskey that I've never been able to get used to. I've finished almost the entire bottle, and every time I try it, at first when the whiskey touches my tongue, it's very pleasant, it's very fruity and quite sweet. But as I swallow it, it makes my throat kind of tense up with a bitterness that I really don't like. I don't like this whiskey. There's a nice nose of toast to it. There are a lot of flavors there. Sort of a hint of golden syrup, some citrus fruits, but it's that bitterness that just doesn't warm to me. Now this is a very, very popular whiskey. A lot of the people I know who enjoy whiskey enjoy this. It's bottled at 40%, so it's standard supermarket fare, but it's really popular and a lot of people love it. I don't. If you go on various different other whiskey blogs, they will usually sing its praises, so I'm going against the tide here, but it's not my bag. So I am going to try this one with a drop of water, just to see if I can improve it a little bit. Okay. The nose has opened up, for sure. It has got a really nice fragrance. Not as nice as the Dragon Honor. Now my friend Vin PF from No Nonsense Whiskey actually donated that bottle of Dragon Honor to me, and he didn't like it because he felt it was too powerfully overwhelmed by sulfur, and I don't have a sensitivity to sulfur. He does. I think that is beautiful. He likes the 12-year-old very much. It's one of his favorites. So this is really, when it comes just down to palates differing, they're both objectively very good whiskies, and this is why it's worth trying things. There's a lot of sweetness come out since I added the water. It's so much thinner in mouthfeel, and like I said, it's got a lot of flavor, some really nice fruit notes, some flavor of honey, a little bit of smoke, but it's just not one of my favorites. I just don't get on with it, and I wouldn't buy another bottle, but it's really popular and so many people love it. This Dragon Honor though, I love this stuff, and I'm going to try some more of their special editions in the future. Okay, one more. See, it's obviously a very well crafted whiskey. This, it's not rubbish. It's just not for me. It does remind me just a little bit of some blends like J&B's or Ballantine's, with that way it gets in your back of your throat that I don't enjoy. And the whiskies probably in the popular consciousness are thought of for that burn in the throat and that sourness, but that's not actually what I enjoy. That's the kind of whiskies that I like, and there's so much out there that if you don't like that, you don't have to put up with it, and you shouldn't associate whiskey with that. Okay, so thank you very much for watching again. I hope to be more regular in future. I know some of the other bloggers out there have advised me to try and blog at least once a week. It doesn't fit with my busy schedule, but I'm going to do my best. So thank you for your continued support. As usual, a little bit more detail about these whiskies will be found in the description. Cheers, everyone.